Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Making It Work. I'm Jimmy. If you haven't been here before, I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. I wanted to do a little bit of a rant video. This is going to be, this video is going to be about communication and follow-through between mechanics, service advisors, and customers, and the breakdown that happens each one of those steps. There's been a lot of times lately where mechanics, especially, it seems to me like the mechanics know the most about the car and what's going on with the car and what needs to be done with the car and what can be put off a little ways if we need to. Where the service advisors or service writer, salesmen, whatever you want to call them, their goal is to make as much money as they can based on their bonuses or the way they're paid, and they know very little about the car. Depending on the service advisor, it seems to me in my career that most of them don't know much of anything about a car. They're just really good at selling people stuff, whether they need it or not, and that kind of thing. And then you have the customer, which compounds things. Some customers are good at communicating problems. Some customers are not so good at communicating problems. And they'll tell you what they think is wrong rather than telling you what they're feeling or their symptom. And the service advisors tend to take what the customer, especially an inexperienced service advisor, the customer tells them, you know, my car needs a starter. So then they'll write up a work order. This car needs a starter. And you say, why? Well, I don't know, the customer said it needs a starter. So you know very well, being a professional mechanic, you don't have to be in this business long. You could be working in this business for a couple of years and you've already been burned by taking that ticket and putting the starter in the car. And then the customer comes to take it and it doesn't start because it has a bad connection somewhere. They'll come back to you and say, why did you miss that? Why didn't you let us know about that? Why did this happen? How come it wasn't fixed correctly, right? Have you ever seen, you guys tell me down in the comments below, have you ever seen a service advisor or a service manager or anyone tell you, oh, I messed up. I should have asked the customer what was wrong and not just told you to put a starter in it. No, they don't do that. They come and they blame you and they say, you didn't fix this car correctly. Don't you know what you're doing, right? So the customer should be, there's a lot of things going on wrong here. So let's go over some of that. First, the customer should come in and tell you, there's something wrong with my car. Sometimes it doesn't start. Or sometimes the engine doesn't turn and the car won't start. And then the service advisor, when the customer comes in saying, I need a starter, the service advisor should say, why do you need a starter? What's your car doing, right? And then when they give the ticket to the customer, they say it needs a starter, the mechanic should say, why do they want a starter? And honestly, I found that, you know, recently I get a little bit agitated, maybe because I'm getting older, but back in the day I would try it very patiently. Oh, why does it need a starter? Can you call them? Or I would call the customer sometimes, and I'd go over their heads. If I had that information available, I'd call the customer, why does your car need a starter? And 100% of the time, that would really fix a lot of problems because you're eliminating all the Indians that are in the line trying to get the job done. You know, there's too many chefs stirring the soup. What really matters is, the bottom line is fixing the car correctly for the customer the first time, if you're able to. So in order to be able to get that done, the customer's got to be clear with their symptoms. The service writer's got to be clear with what the customer told them and getting information from them and all the information they might need. And then the mechanic has to be thorough. And sometimes, like I said, I'm getting a little bit older, so maybe I don't do this the right way so much like I used to. But I just get agitated and I go, well, call them and let me know, and then I'll pull the car in. And they go, well, you got an attitude. So I'm like, well, I've been yelled at for doing what you want, so now we're going to do it my way. Until you call the customer and find out why they think they need a starter, I'm not going to work on the car. And sometimes I'll just give it to somebody else that'll put a starter in it, and they'll get yelled at for doing the wrong thing. So that's what my little rant is about, because like follow-through has been almost non-existent lately. You know, the other day I got interrupted. I was working on a good job and I got interrupted. You have a 2 o'clock appointment. Someone's here because the light's on the dash and they're waiting. So you need to look at it right away. Stop what you're doing. So I go out to the parking lot and I look at it. and the little tire light's on. And I'm like, huh, probably needs air in the tires. I pull it up, check the tires, they're all at 26 pounds, it's supposed to be at 35. I air up all the tires, I go back and forth across the parking lot, the light goes out, I back the car into a spot, I say the air in the tires was low, I aired them up, and then I went back to the job I was doing. I wasted about 15 minutes between doing the paperwork and getting my scanner. I went out to the car with a scanner because the light was on, it was important. So that's just a simple example, that's just the most recent one. It happens probably 10 or 15 times a week. But that particular car, if anybody would have said, well, what light is on the dash? What does it look like? Does it look like a little tire? Does it look like a little engine? You know, is it a triangle with an exclamation point? Does it have any letters? Does it say ACS? You know, give me some information. What light? Or if they would have said, well, give me your keys a second. Let's go out and see what light's on before I make you an appointment. Because it may be something really simple. They trot out to the car, start the car up, and see a little tire light. You probably just need air. But instead, they stop the person that's working on flat rate. Stop what you're doing. You got an emergency customer waiting over here because we don't have any idea what's going on. We haven't followed through. We haven't looked in the car. We don't know anything about it. We just know the light's on the dash, and we want you to figure it out so we don't have to. So, I don't know, guys. Maybe I'm alone, but it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And it seems like, you know, back when I was in my younger days, 15, 20 years ago, I used to be able to do 70-hour weeks, 80 hours once in a while. And work 50 hours on the clock to do it. But it seems anymore that I have to do 50 hours a week to do 40 or 42. Like my last paycheck was like 26 hours because this car over my head here. I don't know if you guys seen the video about this Corvette, but this Corvette, they couldn't get the rack and pinion. The people at Eckler's told them they had the rack in stock, my hand's on it, you'll have it in a couple of days. So they told me to take it all apart. And now it's been sitting on my rack for a week because the guy at Eckler's gave him bad information. I didn't really have it. So we had to order from somebody else. Now my rack is tied up because I'm not going to put the old rack and pinion back in to move it out. It's like 4 hours worth of work. So it would take me an hour or two to get the rack back in there to move the car out, right? So that's not really their fault up front. That's another communication breakdown from the parts supplier. So it's just a lot of stuff going on like that. Let me know what you guys, if you guys are having the same kind of problems. Maybe we can all do a vent fiasco in the comments section because we're all going through the same stuff. But between parts being defective, communication issues with customers and service writers and mechanics, you know, things like that. I mean, it's just piling up and piling up and piling up, and it's getting pretty frustrating. So maybe it is for you guys too. Maybe I'm alone. Just let me know what you think. And I appreciate your time watching this video, watching this little bit of a rant. Let's talk about it in the comments a little bit, and maybe we'll all feel a little bit better. We'll have a virtual beer together and shoot the shit a little bit. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your time. You guys are awesome. Make sure you torque that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet. See you guys in the next video.